my previous video, I discussed when will the chosen ones return to inherit the kingdom territory prepared for them, promised to them by God. I discussed that not all chosen ones will return to inherit the kingdom. The rest will be exterminated. But today I'm considering the topic, what then is the hope for the remaining ones of the other nations? What can other nations and races of people do in order to be salvaged or to be saved? Remember and keep in mind that our God will do whatever He said He will do. Things that He has foretold long ago. And He has foretold that He's going to take vengeance on behalf of His people and for their land. So what can other races and people do in order for them to be salvaged on the day of Jehovah's anger? Before this day of vengeance takes effect, those who humble themselves and observe and agree to His decrees probably will be preserved on the day of Jehovah's anger. So those of other races and people should observe and recognize that God is dealing with His chosen race. And He has decreed what He's going to do and what He wants to do. And those things must take place. Because He said He will do according to how He plays. So how has the rulers and the kings of the earth and the officials responded to the decrees of Yahuwah? Well, Psalms chapter 83 verse 1 to 5, there it is written, O God, do not be silent, do not keep quiet or still, O Divine One. Say, for look, your enemies are in an uproar. Those who hate you act arrogantly. Say, with cunning they secretly plot against your people. They conspire against your treasured ones. They say, come and let us annihilate them as a nation, so that the name of Israel will be remembered no more. They devise a unified strategy. They have made an alliance against you. So instead of the kings and rulers of the earth to accept Jehovah's decree, they conspired against the Holy One of Israel and His people, so that they can annihilate God's chosen people and take over the land. At Psalms 83 verse 12 is written, say, for they say, let us take possession of the land where God dwells. At Matthew chapter 11 verse 12, that is why the Messiah, Yahushua, revealed that from the day of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom territory of the heavens has been suffering violent attacks, and the most violent ones of the peoples take it over by force. At Luke chapter 21 verse 24, it's written, and there the chosen race will fall by the edge of the sword and be led captive into all the nations, and Jerusalem will be trampled on by the nations until the appointed time of the nations are fulfilled. So God allowed time for the nations in their arrogance to trample his land and his people, but for an appointed time. At Psalms chapter 2, verse 1 to 8, there we read, it's written, "So why are the nations agitated, and the people muttering and empty things? The kings of the earth take their stand, and high officials gather together as one against Jehovah and against his anointed one. They say, let us tear off their shackles and throw off their robes. The one enthroned in the heavens will laugh. Jehovah will scoff at them. At that time he will speak to them in his anger and terrify them in his burning anger, saying, I myself have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain. Said, let me proclaim the decree of Jehovah. He said to me, you are my son. Today I have become your father. Ask of me, and I will give nations as your inheritance, and the ends of the earth as your possession. So the nations and the kings of the earth are muttering and empty things. They are rebelling against the decree that Jehovah has made, which is to give his son rulership over his chosen people. But the nations and their kings are against that decree. Psalm chapter 2, verse 10 to 12, yeah, it's written, says, so now you kings, show insight, accept correction, you judges of the earth. Says, serve Yahuwah with fear and rejoice with trembling. Say, honor the Son, or God will become indignant, and you will perish from the way, for his anger flares up quickly. Happy are all those taking refuge in him. So God's decree that the kings of the nations and the peoples should serve Yahuwah and honor the Son. Otherwise, his anger will flare up against them. Daniel chapter 7, verse 13 to 14 is written, I kept watching in the vision of the night, and look, with the clouds of the heavens, someone like a son of man was coming, and he gained access to the Ancient of Days. And they brought him up close before that one, and to him there were given rulership, honor, and a kingdom, to the peoples, nations, and language groups should all serve him. His rulership is an everlasting rulership that will not pass away, and his kingdom will not be destroyed. So God's decree is that he will give a kingdom, a rulership authority to his son, that every other kingdom will have to do what? Submit to. That is Jehovah's decree. Daniel chapter 2, verse 44. There it is written, in the days of those kings, the God of heavens will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. And this kingdom will not pass on to any other people. It will crush and put an end to all these kingdoms, and it alone will stand forever. God's son Yahushua will receive a kingdom dominion that every other kingdom and government will submit to. Those in support of his rulership will live. Those against it will perish in the way. Daniel chapter 7 verse 21 to 22 is written, I kept watching as that horn made war on the holy ones, and it was prevailing against them until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was rendered in favor of the holy ones of the Supreme One, and the appointed time arrived for the holy ones to take possession of the kingdom. So God declared that he will give authority to his son and his people for them to take possession of the kingdom territory. So for those of other races and people who want to be salvaged or who want to be saved, they are to seek what is right and serve the true God with his chosen people. As Zechariah chapter 8 verse 20 to 23, there is written, this is what Yahuwah of armies says, it will yet come to pass that peoples and the inhabitants of many cities will come, and the inhabitants of one city will go to those of another and say, let us earnestly go and beg for the favor of Yahuwah and seek Yahuwah of armies. I am also going. And many peoples and mighty nations will come and seek Yahuwah of armies in Jerusalem, and to beg the favor of Yahuwah. This is what Yahuwah of armies says. In those days, 10 men out of all the languages of the nations will take hold. Yes, they will take firm hold of the robe of a Jew, saying, we want to go with you, for we have heard that God is with you people. So God's decree is that other races and people should go or join with his people, the chosen ones, to seek for him and to serve him. Any who does not comply will perish in the way. So those who will humbly seek for Yahuwah and his favor will obtain it, but the arrogant will perish in the way. Yes, there will be survivors of other races and other peoples when Yahuwah takes the vengeance that he has foretold. At Amos chapter 9 verse 11 to 12 is written, In that day I will raise up the boat of David that is fallen. I will repair the breaches, and I will restore its ruins. I will rebuild it as in the days of long ago, so that they may take possession of what is remaining of Edom, and all the nations on whom my name has been called, declares Yahuwah, who is doing this. So the scripture shows that there will be survivors and remnants of other nations. But these will be those who humble themselves and accept the decree of Yahuwah and join with his people to seek for him and to seek for his favor. At Isaiah chapter 14 verse 1 to 3, the savage ones of these other nations will become subject to the rulership of the God, of our God and his Son in Zion. So, in conclusion, it takes humility or meekness to do what is right And what is right is for other races of peoples and nations to follow the chosen ones of the chosen race to worship Yahweh, the only living God in all the earth. Those who do will obtain blessings and favor, and those who do not will see his wrath. But the question then is, when will the wrath of God be poured out on the wicked? Well, join me in the next video presentation. And for the meantime, if you enjoyed this presentation, click the like button and subscribe so you can be notified when I upload the next video. Thank you.